Part of one of the most picturesque parts of Central Europe is the roller coaster Red Bull Ring. Surrounded by peaks, valleys, forests, rivers and lakes, Spielberg lies just an hour away from the university city of Graz and 2 hours from the cultural capital of Vienna. Premier Class Grand Prix number 1000 takes top billing in the Styria Mountains. It's time to race in MotoGP. Good afternoon and welcome back to the Grand Prix of Austria in 2025. We have just about, I think, here in the commentary box, caught our breath after what was a breathless return from the summer break. Moto3 action over 20 laps has just delivered yet another spectacle here in Spielberg. Don't worry, no spoilers. We will let you enjoy what was a classic at your leisure. Coming up next, though, on our return from the summer break is Moto2 over 23 laps, and we're going to see on pole position for the very first time Danny Holgado, the impressive rookie on the CF Moto Aspar machine. He will lead the grid away because Manu Gonzalez, who did set the fastest time in yesterday's Q2 session, the world champion leader, of course, the Spaniard 25 points clear of Aaron Canet coming into this round 13 of 22 this season. Well, he's got a 3-place grid penalty, which means Gonzalez, rather than starting from the head of the pack, finds himself back on the second row in 4th place. That slight reshuffle then of our front row does see Holgado take over pole position. Very impressive, hasn't he, a 20-year-old so far in his rookie season. The 14th different rider on the front row already this year. Of course, he had qualified in 2nd place. He's on the front row with Diogo Moreira. All kinds of speculation and gossip that Moreira, the Brazilian, is MotoGP bound in 2026. And Gonzalez's penalty for slow riding earlier on this weekend bumps Celestino Vietti onto the front row of the grid. And it is fair to say the Italian will be fancying his chances of yet more success here in the Red Bull Ring. He won here in 2023 from the front row, and he won here last year from pole position. So the 23-year-old Italian starting 3rd, looking for his 3rd successive Moto2 success here in Spielberg. A bit cloudy, a little bit cooler than some of the Bakermore conditions we had here on Friday and Saturday. Nevertheless, though, thankfully dry. There were some forecasts maybe predicting rain around this stage of proceedings earlier on this weekend, but it looks like we're set for a dry affair over 23 laps. In the company of Matt Burton, there was Sotheby in the commentary box, Jack Appleyard down in pit lane. A bit of a pole position gift, Lewis, as far as Danny Holgado's concerned. He was an excellent second anyway on the grid, but Manu Gonzalez paying dearly for an early weekend indiscretion at the chicane.
Yeah, got in the way of Alberto Reinas earlier on in the weekend. That was on Friday afternoon. 2nd time this season now we've seen Manu Gonzalez cop a 3-place grid penalty for some indiscretions in practice, riding on board with Aaron Canet, who's had an eventful weekend. He's confirmed, as you can see on your screens, that he's leaving the Fantic squad for next season, heading for Marc VDS. He's also in a little bit of pain after a crash in practice. So much to discuss then with his team manager, Robbie Locatelli, who joins Jack on the grid.
Yeah, it was a big one for Aaron yesterday. A huge high side coming out at the chicane. How is he this morning, Bobby?
He's better today with yesterday, but he's human. And after the big bed in the crash in the head in the ground, it's very difficult yesterday. He stayed very strange for the race, for the qualifying, and after he's better, he wake up in this morning. But today he's really, he want to win. All together he want to win, and I try to go to this.
He's got the pace to win as well. He's looked excellent all weekend until that crash. Do you think he can put that to the back of his mind and still perform?
Yeah, but his one choice is changing minute to minute. But for all people and for Aaron Canet is very all together for this dream, and that's what I want to wake up and see the winner, Aaron Canet.
Good man, Bobby. Good luck.
Yeah, thanks, Jack. Thanks to Fanti Racing boss Roberto Locatelli. He never shies away from a challenge, doesn't shy away from a tough task. Does he connect? This will be his 100th Moto2 start for the 25-year-old Spaniard. A multi-year deal he signed with Marc VDS, 3-year contract. There's some early murmurs that he may well one day find himself with Marc VDS over in World Superbikes. Next year, though, definitely with the Belgian team in Moto2. We've got a glimpse there then of Danny Holgado. He's superb in the first part of the season. I think a lot of people, without being too disrespectful to Holgado, weren't thinking he was going to have the impact in Moto2 that he has. Points in 8 of the opening 12 Grand Prix. And of course, on our most recent race, he was 4th in Brno, his equal best of the season. Second top 6. I'm happy to say he has surprised a lot of people.
Very, very good job. A couple of 4th places, of course, because he was right in the tail of the podium battle in Qatar earlier in the season. Can he stand on the podium for the first time today? Both Espargaro have a real shot today. So here's Manu Gonzalez then from pole back to 4. Of course, it was officially a 6th pole of 2025 for the points leader, but this was his indiscretion on Friday. It was Alonso on the receiving end, and as a result of that, Gonzalez has to come through from the front of row 2.
Yeah, all a bit unnecessary and a bit naughty as well, really. He's not a novice, is he, at this level at all, Manu Gonzalez. The world champs leader, though, on the second row in 5th place. Joining him on that second row is his Donovan Intact teammate Senna Aegis, the Australian, 6th on the grid. Let's get Senna's thoughts ahead of this battle in Austria.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting fight, Senna. There's 4 or 5 riders that look very equal. You're definitely one of them in the mix. How important is it to go out there and judge those first couple of laps? Because it seems as though track conditions are a bit different to earlier in the weekend.
For sure, we have to understand the track conditions might be different today, and yeah, we do have to fight hard. It's going to be a long race. 23 laps here is a long time. Lots of passing opportunities, you know, so yeah, let's see.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Jack. Thanks to 20-year-old Sydney sider Senna Aegis, has qualified top 6 in the last 3 rounds now, as Aegis 4th in the Sachsenring, 6th in Brno, and now 6th here today. We just saw there a shot on the front row of Celestino Vietti. Can he upset the odds? Winless so far this season on the Vosca Scorers chassis. Can he win for a 3rd successive year here in Austria? One of the star performers of Q2 yesterday without any question. First time we see him starting inside the top 10 in Moto2. 9th on the grid, the rebel KTM rider Colin Vine. He joins Jack.
Yeah, absolutely. Great job yesterday by Colin up onto row 3 of the grid. You must be looking forward to this one.
Oh yeah, of course. Yesterday and also Friday was very good. Pace is very good, so let's see if we can manage to get through the first 2 laps, 3 laps. Yeah, the pace is good, as I said, so I think we can be very confident and yeah, try to see if we can make this one of our best races for this season at the moment.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks to Colin Vine, the 20-year-old from the Netherlands. Yeah, great opportunity for him to take that best result of the season in Moto2 so far. 50th Grand Prix start coming up for Vaya. He's joined this weekend by replacement teammate Dani Munoz, the 19-year-old Spaniard. We are missing Dennis Onju, and it sounds like, Lewis, we're going to be missing the Turk from some period of time. A painful conclusion for his summer break.
Training crash on Monday, which has seen fractures to his left fibula, but we also understand there's some ligament damage there in his left leg as well. So Dennis Onju, who does not do small crashes either at Grand Prix events or in training, sadly his season has been interrupted. I think we'll be seeing him for a good 3 or 4 Grand Prix. So there is Danny Holgado just trying to keep himself calm. First time he started on the front row or on pole position for a Moto2 Grand Prix. As mentioned though, Aspar got genuine hopes of the podium for both of their riders. We saw moments ago his teammate David Alonso on screen. Came through qualifying 1 yesterday to take up his place in 5th on the grid, and he has genuine podium pace.
Diogo Moreira, as mentioned, he doesn't appear to be distracted at the moment by all the talk of a possible switch to the MotoGP World Championship next year. Needs to regroup after what was a disastrous pre-summer break. No points in the Sachsenring or in Brno. Slipped down to 4th now in the World Championship. Has Moreira over 60 points back of Manu Gonzalez. Speaking of Manu Gonzalez, the World Championship leader, 2 bikes in the top 6 for Donovan Intel. Let's get the thoughts of the boss, Tom Luthi, who joins Jack.
Yeah, great opening part of the season for Manu, Tom. How important is this one to pick up where he left off and keep that momentum rolling?
I think it's not a special important one. Just keep on going, and that's what he's doing all the season actually already. And the performance over this weekend was great again. And I think he had really still something in the pocket even for this race today. So the goal is just keep on going, focusing, and do the job.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Jack. Thanks to Tom Luthi. Third in the World Championship. What a first 12 Grand Prix it was for Belgian sensation Barry Baltus. Brno, last time out, starting from a career first pole position, was his sixth podium finish in the opening 12 rounds. 134 points Baltus sits on coming into this Austrian Grand Prix. That is 7 points more than he managed before in his entire Grand Prix career. He has gone stratospheric this year as Baltus.
Of course, if we're considering Diogo Moreira still a World Championship contender, we must consider Baltus 1-2. Of course, with that third place last time out, Barry Baltus moved ahead of Moreira into third in the World Championship, although from Diogo's point of view, good to see that he is now back fully fit once again. He was in a lot of pain with his elbow last time out in Czechia, and essentially only went there to serve his pit lane start.
Alonso Lopez heads row 4 in 10th place. A couple of big names in this Moto2 pack are out of position really on this grid ahead of this 23-lap battle. Jake Dixon, already a two-time winner in 2025. He's 20th on the Mark BDS machine. He's been all at sea on the Bosca Scrub machine. Right on cue, we pick up Dixon, middle of the 7th row of the grid. One place ahead, believe it or not, of American racing rider Californian Joe Roberts, who's 21st on the grid. That is Roberts. Let's not forget who was our last winner in the Moto2 World Championship in some style over in the Grand Prix of Czechia. It was Joe Roberts. So from the top step of the podium 4 weeks ago, for 21st on the grid, the back of the 7th row here in the Red Bull ring. I don't think we saw that one coming, Lewis.
No, well, fair to say that this track layout not quite so suitable to Joe Roberts' preferences than Brno or Mugello have been earlier in the season. So Joe wasn't expected to be quite as strong as Brno here, but I don't think any of us were expecting a struggle quite like that. Here is Joe Roberts. There has been some good news though for the American racing team to share this weekend. They confirmed yesterday that they will have a fully unchanged rider lineup for next season, with Marcos Ramirez confirmed for 2026. Ramirez starts 14th.
Yeah, an unchanged lineup then for American racing. We know there's some big moves being made at the head of the grid next season with Jake Dixon, of course Aaron Kinnett moving into Mark VDS next season. That's all pointing towards an imminent announcement confirming that this will be Dixon's last season in the Grand Prix paddock. Certainly maybe as a full-time rider. There's a lot of talk and there's no smoke without fire that Dixon is World Superbike bound next year with the factory Honda team. That would be a good move at this stage of his career for Dixon. He'll be 30 by the time it's race action in 2026, and it is all pointing towards a change of paddock next year for the Brits.
Very simple tyre information for Pirelli, so I'll keep it brief. Every rider is on the soft front tyre and the super soft rear.
So having qualified on pole position, his Friday penalty sees Manu Gonzalez, the World Championship leader, 25 points clear of Kinnett coming into this Austrian round from heading the second row in 4th. Your front row then is Celestino Vietti, a winner here the last 2 years in Moto2. Diogo Moreira looking to steer his championship challenge back on course after choppy waters came his way in the Sachsenring and in Brno. But inheriting that pole position, can Danny Holgado be the Aspar hero here in Spielberg? He fires away from pole.
This one looks wide open, folks. 23 laps of Moto2 to come. And for the first time in his Moto2 career, Daniel Gardo starts from pole. Diogo Moreira lines up second. Celestino Vietti starting from the front row for the first time since the opening round in Buriram. Pole position yesterday was taken by Manu Gonzalez, but he drops 3 places for slow riding online in practice. David Alonso via Q1 and Senna Aegis start next door to him on row 2. Álvaro Arenas, Aaron Kinnett and Colin Bayer on row 3. That's the best of Bayer's Moto2 career so far. Alonso Lopez 10th ahead of Barry Baltus and Ivan Ortola. Tony Arbolino, the 14 starts 13th ahead of Marcos Ramirez and Iimu Sasaki. Danny Munoz, the injury replacement for Denis Unchu, 16th. Ethan Guevara next up. He's in a bit of pain after a crash on Friday. Philip Salach completes row 6. Zonta van den Gorberg heads row 7 ahead of Jake Dixon, his worst qualifying of 2025. Joe Roberts, the Brno winner, joins him on row 7. Huertas, Navarro and Binder are on the 8th throw ahead of Alex Escreech. Unai Aradre, who is the new replacement at MT Helmet MSI. He replaces Eric Fernandez. Mattia Passini makes his 250th Grand Prix start from P27, a wild card, ahead of Yuki Kuni with a long lap penalty, and Nakarin Atirat Fuvapat. Let's get some thoughts ahead of this exciting Moto2 battle with one of the stalwarts of Moto2 over the years, Sam Lowes for Jack.
Yeah, nobody knows how to battle at the front of the Moto2 race better than Sam. This looks like an interesting one. Obviously, your guys are a little bit further down on the grid in Jake and Philip. How do you see this one playing out?
Yeah, it's obviously always a tight race here in here, but I think the guys had a bad quality. Philip was very unlucky, honestly, not to get a lap in a proper lap in Q2 because he has good pace. Jake, I think he just needs to find the way of it. His rhythm's pretty decent, so the thing is with Moto2 now, the middle group, everyone does the same lap time, so it'll be a good start, staying out of trouble and getting their heads down and making some overtakes. It'll definitely pass fast, I think, the laps.
Cheers, Sam.
Cheers, thank you.
Yeah, thanks to Sam Lowes. Great to see him on site here, supporting both Philip Salac and Jake Dixon. Already out of position on this grid, 18th for the Czech rider, 20th. Back before Brit, then Jake Dixon, who has had a couple of podium finishes here previously, third in 2022, third here last year as well. Was the Brit, top four in the last three. It's going to have to go some to repeat that performance from the middle of the 7th row. So Danny Holgado then about to start a Moto2 battle from pole position for the first time. We're keeping a close eye on the early progress of our two main title protagonists as it stands right now. Gonzalez fourth after his penalty, setting the fastest time in Q2 yesterday. And what about Aaron Canet, second in the World Championship? He's been a busy boy this weekend, signing a Mark VDS contract, recovering from a real bruising crash yesterday morning at turn 2. 8th place on the grid goes Canet, sandwiched in between Albert Arenas and Colin Varg. Going to be interested to see how the Dutch rider fares over 23 laps. He's looked great all weekend and sounded very confident on the grid, and he's talking to Jack about his prospects of potentially fighting for the top 6 for the first time in Moto2. Visor down then for Aaron Canet. He'll be revs up very, very shortly. 23 laps of action coming your way shortly. In the Grand Prix of Austria, the green flag clears at the back. Holgado on pole position for the first time in Moto2. Lights out, we're racing in Moto2 here in the Grand Prix of Austria. Holgado has nailed that start, so too has Manu Gonzalez from 4th place. He's immediately up into 2nd place. Under pressure from Vietti on the inside as Gonzalez gets run really, really wide. That's allowing Moreira, who was briefly 4th, back up into 2nd place. There's a touch almost there in between, was it Moreira and Alonso on the run down to the chicane. It might have been Vietti, but it is Holgado that leads. Further back, we've got Dixon and Robertson, the gravel.
Yeah, Canet was in the middle of the battle. That's a crash for Senna. Aegis at the back of the picture. There's crash coming out of the chicane. Hopefully no one hit him, but Aegis has gone down out of the Grand Prix on that one.
Senna Aegis out of contention. He started this Grand Prix in 6th. It was his 3rd successive start inside the top 6. It's Holgado then that leads. Well, actually, he's yielded. Moreira, it is that's picked up the early lead here. Moreira, no points in the last 2 Grand Prix. He's put a huge dent in his championship challenge, didn't he? But he's hit the front early on here in Austria.
Keep an eye on our screens for any potential red flags in this one, but it is Moreira then who has the advantage at this early stage. Fortunately, Senna Aegis is now up on his feet. Didn't look particularly good, that did it, coming out of the chicane. Fortunately, then no one hitting him hard. Aegis up on his feet, but a Grand Prix that pulls plenty off the line. Unfortunately, has not completed a single lap.
Big one, big one. You can just see the damage on his leathers. He's lost the visor on his helmet as well. That was a nasty one. Happy to see, if somewhat gingerly, Senna Aegis walking away from the scene of that nasty first lap incident. The first lap, which looks like it's going to be headed by Moreira. They power out of turn 10. Under the bubble they go. Holgado with a bit of slipstream levels Moreira in the braking zone uphill into turn 1. Holgado then back in the lead. Gonzalez there in 3rd place, getting busy further back. And Canet was almost down. Canet lost the front on that Banty racing machine. How on earth did he stay upright?
Yeah, he got pushed wide by Ortola, who went through on the inside. Ortola's made a big jump up into 6th place. Moreira has taken the lead, but I'm sorry, Diogo, as far as I'm concerned, you should be giving that one back. He was on the green on the way down to turn 2 when he made that overtake.
Canet, talk about almost disaster. What an exit that would have been, a nightmare. He's already 25 points behind Gonzalez, who's right in the thick of this battle at the front. Moreira then will keep a close eye, well, that's going to be a legal overtake. Holgado then now on the brakes. Vietti going in through on Gonzalez down the hill into turn 4. Lovely move that by Vietti. He's in right wide though on the exit as they they power through 5. Gonzalez and Vietti lean on each other going through 5. Vietti gets the better of it. Some early action here in Austrian Moto2.
Gonzalez has much more to lose than Vietti does. Vietti, a Spielberg specialist, going for a third consecutive Red Bull Ring victory. Of course, the previous two were on Kalex. He's looking for his first victory on a Boscoscuro today.
That early melee involving Roberts and Dixon saw them cross the line at the end of that one. 26 was the American, Dixon was 27. What happened to Alonso Lopez on lap 1 as well? He came over the line dead last in 28. He started 10th, head of the 4th row, did the Spaniard.
I wonder whether he was the rider that was delayed by the Aegis crash through the chicane, because as you say, he's plummeted down the order way off the back of the field. Of course, we saw Roberts and Dixon going through the chicane. Arenas is the fastest rider on track, as he's now got himself up into 5th place. He's ahead of Ortola and Alonso at this stage, surprisingly not able to go with this group, although he has said in the past his big weakness in Moto2 is on new tyres.
Heard via ambitious and expectant from 9th place on the grid. That's exactly where he sits at the end of lap 2. Kinet's in 10th place, having started 8th. But Kinet pretty fortunate to still be upright in this Grand Prix after a massive front-end scare at turn 1 at the end of that second lap. Barrera then powers the Ital Trans Kalex out of turn 3, drops into that little hollow now, then blind entry down the hill into 4. He's the 4/10 clear at the moment of Holgado. That's the biggest lead we've had in this Grand Prix so far. He's getting aggressive early on here, Barrera, trying to stretch this early lead.
Yeah, this is the incident into the chicane then. So there's two incidents. There's Dixon and Roberts at the top of the picture, and then we see Aegis going down, coming out of the chicane. There he is. You can see there on the right-hand side, that looks like Lopez going off the rider's right, left as we look, and delayed, sending him right to the back of the field.
I don't know whether Aegis clipped the back of Via on the exit of 2A. Good to see Aegis walking. Okay, the helicopter job then picks up a lead group. The leader is Barrera. Down into turn 10 he goes. Holgado looking really strong once again in 2nd place. Well on course for his maiden Moto2 podium finish. As we suspected, Barrera is trying to get on with this. He's the fastest rider on circuit at 133.615. That's only 300 quicker though than Holgado in 2nd place. Vietti Gonzalez exchanging 133.7s in 3rd and 4th respectively.
Certainly no indications on our time screens yet that the stewards are getting involved in telling Barrera to drop off one place. They may consider that he had nowhere else to go as the riders naturally go over towards that green paint as they take the optimum line from turn 1 to turn 2. But either way, the leading group is still very much together. Only a second covers the top 6, and David Alonso is just about keeping himself in touch back in 7th place. He's 1.7 back of the leader.
Popular pitch there, we just saw Roberts, the Brno winner, picking off Cassini. So now Roberts is back into the position he started this Grand Prix at 21st place, because he was involved in that early tangle with Jake Dixon. Jake Dixon is right at the back at the moment. He's only got Yuki Kudik, the Honda Team Asia rider, behind him as the Brits. So 34.7. He's a second off the front-running pace. Here's Dixon.
It's looking good this round. Kinet at the moment, you have to say, back in 10th place. We know that he's not necessarily at peak of his physical powers at the moment after that nasty high side he suffered yesterday morning. Kinet, who was super quick in the weekend before that crash, sitting in 10th place at the moment and in danger of losing some big points to Gonzalez.
Baltus's championship challenge is taking a bit of a blow here as well in Austria. He's currently circulating down in 12th place. Haven't really seen much of Baltus as a front-running force at any stage this weekend. 11th on the grid, his lowest qualifying in 11 Grand Prix since Argentina early on in the season. Vietti and Gonzalez continue to slug it out in this battle at the 3rd place. Directly ahead of them is still Barrera that leads, about sort of half a dozen bike lengths clear of Holgado as they sweep through the chicane.
133.6 for Diogo Moreira. The next fastest rider on track was Tony Arbolino in 8th place. He's got himself nicely onto the tail of this leading pack, just up behind Alonso's Aspar machine. So Arbolino looking as strong as he has in the dry, arguably all season.
Strong ride as well by Adrian Fuertes, the reigning world Supersport champion. He's got himself up into the point scoring place. Gonzalez is touring! Gonzalez is touring! Gonzalez is touring. We're running on board with him there. Just looking down my notes, and Gonzalez is touring. Well, this is a game changer for the championship. Manu Gonzalez, who had to suffer the blow of losing pole position yesterday after his indiscretion on Friday. Well, he is touring at the moment. Gonzalez surely pitting at the end of this lap.
Very rare that you see Moto2 bikes breaking down. Well, what a time for it to happen just as we were talking about Canet potentially losing huge points, he's now going to gain points on Manu Gonzalez, who's surely now going to come up pit lane. His race is effectively trashed, although on our time screens he's still showing as 14th. This is Ayumu Sasaki right behind him. Was it a temporary problem that's now rectified itself? Because Gonzalez has decided to carry on in the race.
Well, he wasn't sort of actively competing, was he? On the run down to turn 4, he was touring almost at walking speed. What on earth? He keeps looking down at the left-hand side, doesn't he? Well, whether I think there's some contact, or is there something that's happened with a bit of rubbing with Vietti earlier on?
It was just halfway up the straight, wasn't it? On the way down to turn 4, something clearly either shut off or Gonzalez just had some sort of problem, couldn't get up or down the gearbox. Let's have a look then as he comes through the chicane, running absolutely fine now, climbing up towards turn number 3, shifting up, no problem there from 2 to 3, back down to first gear now for turn 3. Gonzalez looks pretty competitive now, but as mentioned, it's cost him 6 seconds that.
Bizarre to say the least. Looks like one of the levers, is it the clutch protector on the left-hand side that's been bent? So well, it looks like maybe he keeps looking down the left handlebar or something. I don't know if there's been some kind of contact earlier on in this Grand Prix. Well, we're going to try and have to pick the bones out of this, aren't we, post-race, assuming that Gonzalez does finish, because, well, he's got from 4th down to 14th place. Jack just, he's had a quick chat with the Liqui Moly Dynamo Intact team, and they're just like most of us here watching this Grand Prix. A bit clueless, not really sure what on earth is going on right now with Manu Gas, who seems to be back at full gas.
And of course, they'll have access to live telemetry too. So let's ride on board and have a listen there. This is Gonzalez out of 3.
Strange.
Okay, I think I think of, but he has looks down there. Was he just unable to get down the gearbox? He puts his left hand up there. He's already signalling to those behind him. There's a problem. Has a look down towards his left leg, as you mentioned, and yeah, for about 3 corners, looked like he was touring into retirement. Now he's just done a 1:34.0. He's only a quarter of a second slower than the leader Moreira.
There's been some contact somewhere on the left-hand side because his clutch lever protector is sort of all bent out of shape. That was Alonso back at the front of this Grand Prix. Is setting a red-hot pace, the reigning Moto3 world champion. He won the Moto3 race here last year, a 1:33.582. As Gonzalez now.
Classic Salach now, so Gonzalez is already on this lap. He's gone through on Huertas, he's now gone through on Philip Salach. Gonzalez now back up into 12th place all of a sudden.
Well, he's in full-on damage limitation mode right now, isn't he? 4th to 14th after that sort of brief technical issue which grabbed his attention. I mean, we thought to all intents and purposes that was game over. He was going to be having to retire and cruise back into pit lane, but he's now back up to full racing speed. He's doing 34 flats, which is only sort of 3/10 away from the pace of your race leader Moreira. What happened to Gonzalez?
The irony, give it a few laps and he'll be smart. Oh, he's off again, look. Gonzalez has gone off again. He's now slamming his fists against the tank. Clearly something affecting Gonzalez. It's a distraction, but now it looks like it's the end of his Grand Prix.
Gearbox, I think. It seems to be down that left-hand side. Is there something wrong with a quick shifter? He can't believe it. He's livid. He's absolutely enraged. I guess the only positive at the moment, as far as Gonzalez is concerned, that Aaron Canet is really not going to dump all over him right now in terms of a big point-scoring haul, because Canet's in 9th place. Oh, Gonzalez is absolute. We've got a raging Red Bull right now.
Very rare that you see body language like that from Manu Gonzalez. Is usually so ice cool, but he is absolutely steaming mad. We're looking outside our commentary box windows. The team are having a good chat with Manu and asking what happened. What can you tell us about what went wrong with your bike? Yeah, Canet might not be punishing him, but I'll tell you who might be. Diogo Moreira, who of course leads this Grand Prix, 60 points off the World Championship lead. He could take 25 out of that.
Oh, that's a blow. That is a real kick in the teeth for Manu Gonzalez. 4th to 14th, and now he is eventually retirement. I can see Jack down where we just saw those live pictures. Jack right on the scene, right on cue. So I know as soon as we get any kind of information or feedback from Manu Gonzalez or the German-based Liqui Moly Intact team, Jack will be right on the case. Moreira then at the front, controlling this Grand Prix pretty impressively. He can't break the shackles of Holgado behind him. Bit of a gap then back to Vietti, who's still looking well set to mount the challenge for the Austrian Grand Prix hat-trick. That'll be some achievement by the number 30. We've got a long way to go still in this Grand Prix. 15 laps remaining. Morera, Holgado, Vietti third.
Yeah, this is the key to the race for me. This Alonso through on Arenas. David Alonso's got the pace to get after this top three. As mentioned, he set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix on a 33.5 a couple of laps ago. We saw throughout practice that Alonso was super quick. He's now clear Arenas to chase after the top three.
Well, one of the big stories is emerging off track here in Austria. We have lost the world championship leader Manuel Gonzalez in dramatic fashion. Jack, what have you got for us?
Yeah, it looks like it's the radiator that's broken. The screen is absolutely covered in fluid. They've just taken the belly pad off. It looks as though, just getting confirmation from Jürgen Ling, a stone through the radiator. That is what's caused the world champion to pull out.
That is shocking. That is rotten luck, isn't it? Concerned. Well, tough one to take, as we said, a real kick in the teeth. Paul Gonzalez back at the front. It is Morera, flames popping out of the back of his Triumph machine. They're having a good look down, aren't they, on the left-hand side.
They're just showing Manu the hole that Jack just told us about in the radiator, and this was the second time we saw Gonzalez backing off when he realised that his Grand Prix was essentially over, and wisely just staying well out of the way not to get into potentially some sort of accident. But Manu Gonzalez today, no World Championship points. That is now his second non-score of the season. Yeah, it opens the door for Aaron Canet to gain ground, but the big winner potentially, if he can hang on to this, Diogo Moreira, who has an opportunity now to cancel out all of the points he lost in Brno in Germany.
Into turn one, Moreira goes. Still, Holgado keeping him company. That sort of the gaps between Moreira, Holgado and Vietti is sort of held station for a number of laps now. Ortola, pole position in Moto3 here last year, is having a real strong ride. He's just fired in his best lap of the Grand Prix so far, the Spaniard, 1:33.769. That was actually slightly faster than your race leader Moreira. Ortola 2.5 seconds back of the Braziliano right now in sixth.
Fastest rider on track though is the rider in fourth, David Alonso. Even with the overtake up the inside of turn one on Arenas last time round, he still did a 1:33.6. Alonso said in the run up to this Grand Prix, give me 13 lap old tyres and I'm super quick. It's the run up to that where Alonso tends to struggle. He just can't get the best out of brand new Pirelli tyres. So that seems to suggest that the longer this race goes on, the stronger the Moto3 world champion will get. That could spell trouble for the three riders ahead of him.
Two of our top three in the world championship at the moment. Not in position we expected them to be at this stage of this Austrian Grand Prix. The two Fancy Racing teammates, Baltus and Canet. Baltus has the advantage. He's up into 9th place. He's taken that 9th place from Canet on this lap 10 of 23. 13 and a bit more laps remaining. We're looking back towards Canet now. Canet directly behind him is Usain Guevara, who had a real bruising start to this weekend. The Blue Crew Pramac rider had to pick up some slipstream. He might pick off Canet here on that run up to the first corner. He does indeed. So two serial winners in Moto3 back in the day. Guevara then now up into P10.
Lost Joe Roberts, I think, from this Grand Prix. I mean, we're already confirmed we weren't going to see back-to-back reaches from Joe Roberts. That was confirmed at the chicane on the first lap. But he has now crashed. He was running down in 18th place.
Yeah, it's been a weekend to forget for Joe Roberts. He went into the summer break buzzing after his brilliant victory, didn't he, in Brno. And after enjoying himself over in the States, it's been a tough return to action as far as the American racing rider is concerned. Vietti starts to close in on the rear tyre of Holgado. That's in the braking zone for turn 4. Just check the gap between Vietti and Alonso. It's just hovering over a second. And you can see Alonso just out of your picture on the number 80 bike. He's got so much time if he's able to manage his pace, manage the tyre towards the end of this Grand Prix. Well, there's ample time to get himself back into this victory battle.
I'm trying to work out how many points Canet might salvage out of this, which of course is crucial to the World Championship. And behind Canet at the moment, we've got 3.5 seconds back to Yuki Sasaki. Canet's pace already, though, they'll be concerned with how much it's dropping off. He's doing high 34s, so if he is in a little bit of pain here, Aaron Canet, it's going to be a crucial 12 laps coming up to try and grit his teeth. Any points he can get out of this will be like absolute gold dust, with Manuel Gonzalez scoring nothing.
Looks like it's just a race of survival at the moment as far as Canet's concerned. That was a real nasty crash he had coming out of the chicane yesterday morning. The angle that his head hit the curbs was always going to be a tough proposition for the remainder of the weekend as far as Canet is concerned. He's a tough cookie. He's not going to shy away from the challenge, shirk away from it at all, but with Gonzalez out, you feel that he's missing a big opportunity to really punish his main championship adversary. Vietti once again sort of closes up on the rear tyre of Holgado. This time around it's on that uphill braking zone into the first gear, turn 3. Fair play though to Holgado. He's doing a great job of hanging on to that second place and a great job of making sure that he keeps the pressure right on the shoulders of Moreira.
Quandary, I suppose, in some respects here for Holgado. Never had a Moto2 podium. Is he prepared to risk it though to take victory? Let's hear then for the World Championship leader. Manu Gonzalez is out of the Grand Prix and talking to Jack.
Well, Manu, the cruelest look imaginable. Just explain what was happening on the night.
Just bad luck. I think Senna crashed in the exit of the chicane and the track was full of gravel in the exit of the corner. And 2 laps after, when I passed there, the bike started to pull a lot of water from the radiator. So I tried to continue because it was stopping the water, but then another moment it came again, a lot of water, so I had to stop to don't use the engine or maybe crash, but just bad luck.
Yeah, bad luck. See you in Hungary. Thank you for chatting.
Yeah, thanks, Jack, and fair play to Manu Gonzalez, putting the bit of disappointment of his exit in this Grand Prix behind him to come and have a chat with Jack. So that a hold radiator likely caused inadvertently by his own teammate Sarai just crashing on the exit of the chicane. That is cruel luck for Gonzalez. I suppose the only consolation for him will be that he's had the pace to win this Austrian round all weekend. As Moreira, this looks like visibly the biggest lead he's established in this Grand Prix so far. It is. Moreira is just threatening to pull the pin here. He drops down the hill into turn 4. Let's go and see what his advantage is as we tick off sector 2. Jonathan van den Gorber's got a long lap penalty for track limits infringements. Half a second is the gap between Moreira and Holgado. So fair play to Holgado, actually he's recovered a bit of time back in sector 2.
It's lost 4/10 of a second on the previous lap, which is why it's now half a second between 10 and 27. Justin Vietti, who has done more winning than anyone else in Moto2 around the Red Bull Ring. He's won the last 2 around here, and also a Moto3 victor here back in the doubleheader of 2020. This is very much Vietti territory. He's got a couple of young charges between himself potentially and a Red Bull Ring hat-trick.
Alonso's coming. Alonso is coming. A couple of laps to go. That gap between the Colombian and Vietti was just over a second. It has now shrunk down to 6/10 of a second. Alonso, yeah, he's 1:33.808 by far the quickest rider. A couple of tenths quicker than Vietti ahead of him. Holgado, the only other rider in that top format at the moment, in the 33s. Arenas also in the high 1:33s too. So is Baltus, who's just starting to find some serious speed as we tip into the second half of this Grand Prix.
Cadet's doing 34.3s, we saw him a moment ago, so he's pretty much matching the pace of the Sasaki-led group behind him. So Cadet still in a relatively safe 11th place. This is Jake Dixon, who's in the 35s, up behind the 54 of Mattia Fassini. His Grand Prix weekend was already looking tough, but of course was destroyed with this incident into the first chicane on lap 1. Look towards the back of the field, as you can see. Dixon, it looked like he had the machine bike of Darren Binder on his right, which sent both Roberts and Dixon off through the chicane runoff into the back of the field.
Scary looking further up the track as well to see the Lopez Aegis incident. It clearly looked like Aegis got run over by Lopez, so really fortunate and nasty on that. Moreira now through 8. We are 3/4 of the way around lap 14 of 23. Drops down now into turn 9. Yeah, it is Alonso. This has been coming. This has been coming, and he's not disappointing. Alonso there now hones right onto the rear tyre of Vietti. Holgado flirts with track limits on the outside of turn 10. But 3 laps ago, this gap between Alonso and Vietti was a second. It is now down to just 2/10. Once again, Alonso 4/10 quicker than Vietti on that last lap.
1:33.5 for David Alonso. That is seriously shifting at this stage of the race. And as mentioned earlier on, we're now getting into the stage of proceedings where David Alonso is generally at his strongest in Moto2. The older the tyres get, the stronger he is. He is now right on charge, or on the back of the rider who's won the last 2 Austrian Grand Prix. David Alonso is making the hopes of a hat-trick pretty remote right now.
He's made mincemeat of Vietti. As soon as he got on Vietti's rear tyre, he made an attack. He runs a little bit hot, and Vietti's able to just cut back and seize that 3rd place back, but wasting precious little time. He got onto Vietti's rear tyre at turn 1. 2 corners later, he's had a lunge. That's what I love about Alonso. He's not a rider who's just going to sit there and work out the moves. He's got onto Vietti's rear tyre, and he has gone for it immediately.
As much as we talk about Vietti's record on the Red Bull Ring, Alonso's isn't too shabby either. Won here in Moto2 last season despite serving a long lap penalty, and was out in the lead of the Grand Prix the year before when he crashed. So David Alonso also a bit of a specialist around the Red Bull Ring. So we've got the battle for 3rd place, and you feel if Alonso can win this battle quickly, he's certainly got the pace to zoom right back up to the top 2.
He's going to have to get through quickly on Vietti, because this has not been a great lap by Vietti. He's sort of losing a bit of touch here with Moreira and Holgado directly. I mean, he's just got a track this morning as well. If he hasn't got enough on his plate, enough to contend with Alonso charging up behind him. He's now got a track this morning as well. Moreira 133.9, he's back into the 33. So too is Holgado, who's got the consistency to match the speed. Vietti goes defensive on that run up into 2A. No way through for Alonso. Alonso had a little look at Vietti on the run into the braking zone for turn 3. Is he going to try and make the same move this time around?
Yeah, Vietti was wide through 2A, compromised his exit speed from 2B. He now even washes the front away through turn 3, and Alonso's going to carry more momentum. He's going to have more speed down this straight up to turn 4. He'll now pick up the slipstream from the Boscascoro. Alonso's got to move quickly here.
Detached from this lead quartet is Arenas in 5th. He's 2.7 seconds behind this battle raging between Alonso and Vietti. They'll now power through turn 5 into 6th. The left-hander we go. Vietti just a little bit wide, of course. 2 different machineries at play here. The Boscascoro of Vietti, which does sort of tend to favour wider sweeping lines, particularly through this infield section. Alonso is going to have to get busy here very, very quickly. He can't let Moreira and Holgado break away.
Already they've lost 3/4 tenths to the leaders on this lap, as Vietti's been running defensively and trying to keep Alonso at bay. You can see the top 2 just off the road. So Alonso is not getting into panic stations just yet, but the longer he's behind Chesney and Vietti, of course, the less time he has to potentially plot away to win this Grand Prix. Top 2 were back in the 33s last time around. Vietti and Alonso in the 34s.
It's been a clash ride as Alonso charges up the hill into the first corner. When will he try and make a second move on Vietti? He's already been through once, a couple of laps ago, into turn 3. Tony Arbolino's having a cracking ride in 6th place. He's well on course for what will be his first dry race top 10. As Vietti's got a long lap penalty. We just said on the previous lap he got a track limits warning, and Celestino Vietti has a long lap penalty exceeding track limits. So this is going to potentially end the hopes of Vietti's podium chances here, certainly ending his hopes of a 3rd successive victory here in Austria. This is a big moment in this lead quartet. Vietti, well, he almost lost the front going into 4. He almost lost the rear coming out of 4. Alonso does indeed sweep on through as Vietti, that's close. That is close, moving through into 6.
Yeah, it looked like Vietti is again. The rear's moving around on the way through turn 6. He was carrying so much more speed on the way into turn 4 that I was going to be amazed if he got it stopped. He did, but then the rear was crying for mercy on the way out. Alonso will be desperate to shake off the Boscascoro, because he might not know yet that he'll be soon getting out of his way and no longer giving you any grief for that long lap penalty to serve.
Somebody told Vietti this is Moto2, not Supermoto. I mean, he's been sideways so much on this current lap. Surely now he has seen on his dashboard he has going to serve the long lap penalty. Alonso then now into 3rd place. He's exactly a second behind Moreira with 6 laps to go. He has got time, he's got pace. Vietti immediately slings himself into the long lap penalty loop. That's on the outside of turn 1. He's certainly going to lose a position potentially to Arenas. There's a good long look to his right. Arenas and Arbolino sweep through. So Vietti rejoins the track in 7th, is it?
6th place.
6th.
Now Arbolino up to 5th, and now the top Boscascoro in this Grand Prix. We haven't said that much in 2025. Baltas has gone through on Vietti, by the way, backwards in the battle for 8th place. Canet is still in that rather comfortable 11th place. But the question now is how quickly can Alonso cruise up to the back of his teammate, Danny Holgado, as Diogo Moreira leads the Grand Prix. And he's not about to have one Aspar rider give you a grief, it's soon going to be two.
That was through on Bayer started the Grand Prix in 9th. He's in P9, excellent ride this so far by the Netherlands rider. He was hoping to capitalise on that first top 10 in qualifying and now getting himself up into 10th place again.
Alonso's already 3/10 up on this lap on the two immediately ahead of him. This is going to be a quick lap from the number 80. And it'll be interesting to see how Aspar view this one, because I feel like their rider at this stage who has the best chance of winning this Grand Prix might be the rider currently back in 3rd place. I think he's certainly got the superior pace. Holgado has been watching Moreira for quite some time. Does he have an extra gear up his sleeve to potentially attack the Brazilian, or is it going to be an all-South American tussle at the front of this race between Moreira and Alonso?
This has been an awesome ride by Holgado. He has been right on the rear tyre of Moreira from the get-go in this Grand Prix. Over the line we go, there's not even 3/4 of a second now, splitting Moreira, Holgado and Alonso. It's the number 80 who's got big interest here in a maiden Moto2 victory. He closes in once again, he's so good on the brakes into the chicane is Alonso. He gets good drive up the hill as well, out of 2B. Further back, Arenas is in 4th spot. That's close, that's tight.
They've run into each other already a couple of times this season. Remember back in Jerez when Alonso and Holgado came together? Holgado was out of the Grand Prix. Holgado then took Alonso out in Aragon as well on the very first lap. So Aspar, they've got a double podium at the very least potentially waiting for them. They don't want their riders to trip over each other again.
Just has to be patient for Alonso. He has led briefly before in Moto2. He led one lap at the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. So just got a really good crikey. That front tyre was chattering his brains off as he went through turn 6. I guess that's the big question. How much has Alonso taken out of his rubber? We know how good he is on worn tyres, but how much has he used and abused those Pirelli tyres to get himself back into this battle?
And we know from Moto2's very entertaining 2025 season. Alonso's gone down.
Not too much. We were just saying, how much has he used and abused those Pirelli tyres? Well, we have got a very rapid answer. Alonso jumps off the CF Moto Aspar machine down the hill into turn 9. He almost lost the front, hadn't he, attacking Holgado earlier on in the lap. So what was a fight for the win between 3 riders here in Austria is now a straight duel between Moreira and Holgado.
Clearly taking one risk too many on his way back towards the top 2, and once again for David Alonso in 2025, so much potential, so many signs of the immense talent that we know he has, but he hasn't ultimately been able to bring home the results on the Sunday to show for it. That is such a shame from David Alonso's point of view. We'll never know ultimately whether he could have overhauled his teammate and Diogo Moreira. It is now a 2-horse race at the front. Vietti's back into 3rd now, despite that long lap penalty. He's gone back through on Arbolino and Arenas, who are now 4th and 5th. Montoya 6th, and of course further back, that now promotes Alan Canet back into the top 10.
At the moment, you have to say it's looking like Moreira has got Holgado covered off, as he has done for the majority of this Grand Prix so far. That's the biggest lead Moreira's been able to establish. He's over 3/4 of a second clear now of Holgado, and all of a sudden this has become a pretty intense fight for the final place on the podium. It is at the moment in the hands of Vietti, but it's not a given, because he's got Arenas for company, Arbolino's right in the mix, Ortola now back inside the top 6 after Alonso's exit right here down the hill into turn 9. Baltus 7th, and high up now into 8th place. That's put Canet back inside at the top 10. Danny Munoz replacing Dennis Arnju now up into the point-scoring places.
This was Vietti elbow to elbow with Albert Arenas on the way out of the chicane and back into 3rd place once again. So Vietti has been able to at least limit the damage from that long lap penalty. He's now back where he was in P3.
They weren't giving up that place, were they? After a mighty fight, and the run up the hill into 3. Vietti just about gets that Boscoscura settled to attack into the first part of the chain, into 2A. Holgado has slipped nearly 9/10 of a second back now on the road. Those two up the road, almost 5 seconds up the road in the battle for the victory. There is Vietti then, who's just starting to streak away from Arenas. Best dry race coming in on a Boscoscura for Arbolino. Good ride as well by Ortola. Cracking ride. was on pole position here in Moto3 last year. He's on course for the top 6 as well.
I was just about to say before Alonso crashed that catching and staying behind Diogo Moreira is one thing, passing him is quite another. We do know already from this season that if you want to get past Diogo Moreira and make it stick, you've got to drag him out of his position, kicking and screaming. He is such a feisty, tenacious competitor in Moto2, and we never got the chance to see whether either Aspar rider could make a move. Manu Gonzalez, a spectator with all of us. The damage to his championship lead from a Connect point of view is not particularly big. 6 points being taken out of it, but boy is Diogo Moreira catapulting himself right back in to the championship conversation if he can close out these final 2 laps.
Some response this has been from Moreira. A real painful, bruising Sachsenring Grand Prix after the big collision with David Alonso. He was not really fit at any stage during the Czech Grand Prix. Of course, he had to start from pit lane as well. So no points in the last 2 Grand Prix, but this has been a brilliant return. This is Moreira showing exactly why he's the talk of the town in terms of MotoGP seat potentially in 2026. He is being strongly linked with the LCR Honda ride. And he's showing exactly why. Lucio Cecchinello, HRC senior management, are keeping close tabs on the Brazilian right now, because this one looks like it's over. 1.4 seconds he is now clear, 1.6 actually through sector 1, with, what, 2 laps remaining.
So quite crucial points could potentially be hoovered up here by Bottas too, if he wants to keep himself in the World Championship mix. He started today 54 points behind Manu Gonzalez. He's currently on course for 7, so he closed that down to 45. But of course, this is a freight train that goes all the way up to 3rd place. Only a lap and a half to go, but still a top 6 on offer here for Bottas if he can get through on the impressive rookie Ortola.
Moreira is going to be 2 seconds clear of Holgado very, very shortly. He's just had the better pace in the last sort of 3, 4, 5 laps. You're guessing you have to feel that Holgado has just gone, you know what, it's senseless trying to go gung-ho and take big risks to beat Moreira when there's a maiden Moto2 podium in the offing, which looks like it's going to be in the hands of the number 27. What a weekend it's been for Holgado. Second on the grid, promoted to pole position. Looks like he's going to be second in the Grand Prix by far. His best weekend of 2025. The gap is now 2 seconds between Moreira and Holgado. Vietti is still holding on to 3rd place. It's 4/10 clear of Arenas as we start the final lap.
Still got that freight train from 3rd back to Ethan Cabara running in 9th place, but yeah, he's had his fair share of criticism, hasn't he? With, of course, the incident with Alonso back in Germany. That, of course, then spilled over into Brno. He was nowhere near 100% fit. Had to start from the pit lane with a lot of pain in his elbow. That was a weekend, really, just to get the penalty out of the way. And with the summer break now cleared out of the way, a fully fit, fully firing Diogo Moreira has returned to the level that he was at pre-Germany, pre the incident with David Alonso, and there is no question that we are looking at a genuine bona fide title contender in the form of the Brazilian.
Looks like Vietti is going to make it 3 successive podium finishes here in the Red Bull Ring. It won't be 3 successive wins, but it's going to be Vietti's first podium since Argentina, just his 2nd of the season. Moreira now with just 2 corners left to negotiate. Will we look back on this Grand Prix of Austria and its significance in terms of the destiny of the 2025 Moto2 World Championship, with Manu Gonzalez, the championship leader, out of contention with a technical problem. Aaron Canet coming home in 10th place, but with a standout wheelie, the standout rider here in Spielberg is Diogo Moreira, who reignites his World Championship challenge. Delirium for Italtrans Racing. 2nd win in the last 4 Grand Prix for Moreira. A brilliant weekend for Danny Holgado in 2nd place from pole position. What a performance by the Spaniard for the Aspar team. Vietti then is on the podium for the 3rd year in succession in Moto2. Arenas, Arbolina and Ortola your top 6. Bottas is 7th ahead of Colin Vine. That's the first top 10 in Moto2 for Vaya. Guevara 9th. Canet is 10th. He limps home in a rather lonely 10th place, but does reduce Manu Gonzalez's championship advantage. There are points for Salat, Ramirez, Sasaki, and Munoz in for the injured, Canizonju and Darren Binder. Olan's 16th place is Alonso Lopez, who was caught up in all the early first lap drama with Senna Aegis. But Diogo Moreira, well, he has put himself through the mill in the 2 races before the summer break over in Germany and in the Czech Republic. No points collected in those 2 Grand Prix, but that's some return. That is a statement return to action as far as the Brazilian is concerned. He takes the victory here by 2.3 seconds. This Moto2 World Championship, this one looks like it could go all the way to Valencia, doesn't it?
Demonstrating exactly why MotoGP factories want his signature for 2026. Bouncing back in some style from a doubleheader in Germany and Brno, where he produced one of the great Moto2 rides until that instant with Alonso, nowhere near fully fit in the Czech Republic. But boy, was he firing all cylinders here this weekend. A second win of the season for the number 10 on a day when Canet was hobbled and Gonzalez was out of luck. Diogo Moreira takes full advantage.
Class weekend, a class ride that by Holgado, very, very impressive. Well, he's been impressive throughout his rookie season in the Moto2 World Championship. That the cherry on the cake to kick off part 2 of this year's World Championship. Could have had 2 Aspar bikes, should have had 2 Aspar bikes really on the podium at the end of that 23-lap battle. David Alonso demonstrated great pace, but just as we were saying, how much has he taken out of those Pirelli tyres to get himself back in contention? Well, we found out seconds later when he went careering into the gravel trap at turn 9. Canet then rescues 10th place. A positive weekend in many respects, with confirmation of his 2026 future sorted. And positively sees the checkered flag after a bruising Saturday morning. Let's go down and get some Moto2 reaction from Jack down in pit lane.
Yeah, got Tisco Manzone from the Italtrans squad. What a performance that is from Diogo. Now 2 wins in the last 4. This World Championship is on.
Yeah, it was an unbelievable race, leading since the beginning, incredible pace. He was super focused, so I'm super happy. We did an incredible job with the team, and let's continue like this.
Some would say a ride worthy of a promotion to MotoGP.
It's a statement win for him. I think he deserves to go, and he shows his talent. He has time to learn, also in Moto2, but I think the time will come also in MotoGP.
Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, it was a statement victory. Feels the appropriate phrase to describe that performance by Diogo Moreira. You have to capitalise on your championship adversary's bad days, and he's done that in emphatic fashion. No points today for Gonzalez, just a 10th place for Canet. Barry Baltus led home the Fantasy Racing Challenge, 7th for the Belgian. That's not good enough though to hold on to 3rd place in the overall championship standings for the Belgian rider. He misses the podium for the first time since Assen.
Helter Keras there coming over to congratulate Diogo Moreira. It's a very tight-knit community amongst the riders who've come up through the junior GP ladder. Once again, as we saw in Moto3, Moreira carrying the flag with the number of Pau Alsina, who lost his life in a testing crash in Aragon recently, junior GP rider. But Diogo Moreira, he's going to be a MotoGP rider very, very soon. Feels like it's going to be as soon as 2026, and there is still every chance that he could be heading there as a Moto2 World Champion. Gonzalez and Canet, beware.
Yeah, a hole in Gonzalez's radiator and a bit of a hole in his World Championship advantage after that 23-lap race. Brilliant job by Moreira, absolutely brilliant. He's been under pressure going into the summer break. How was he going to respond from the big setbacks of Sachsenring and Brno? That is how you do show that you can deal with adverse situations. First Moto2 podium for Danny Holgado, and that was a top-notch ride, a top-notch weekend all round for Holgado. No wonder he's got a big smile plastered all over his face. We were very used to seeing Holgado on Moto3 podiums. He took 16 in the lightweight World Championship. That is the first of potentially many, you feel, in Moto2.
Boscoscuro there congratulating Celestino Vietti. He does see his winning streak at the Red Bull Ring come to an end. No 3rd consecutive win around here for Vietti, but it is a podium return for him. First time we've seen him up there since round 2 in Argentina. Celestino Vietti overcoming that long lap penalty to still secure a long-awaited podium for him.
Yeah, we saw Alonso crash out of 3rd place. Vietti tried himself, didn't he, to dump it out of 3rd place. That, I think, is probably going to go down to one of the toughest weekends of searching for feeling on the Boscoscuro and now searching for answers after he took the checkered flag in 20th place. He was caught up in a bit of an early skirmish with Joe Roberts at the chicane on lap 1, head in hands. Where has it all gone wrong this weekend? As far as Jake Dixon is concerned, this is a rider who, of course, was victorious in Argentina and in Austin at the start of the season. He was on pole not that long ago in the Saxon Ring and on the podium there. As mentioned, the body language told you all you need to know. Certainly one of the toughest weekends of 2025, and arguably one of the toughest of his Grand Prix career.
Incident in the chicane on the first lap certainly didn't help, but it wasn't exactly promising much before then from a Jake Dixon point of view. He'll be hoping to reset, go again, and hopefully turn his fortunes around when we head to Hungary next weekend. But for Celestino Vietti, we know how classy an operator he is, and we know how good he is around the Red Bull Ring. It's a third consecutive podium here for Celestino Vietti, who's talking to Jack.
Actually, 3 podiums in a row here at the Red Bull Ring. We know how much you love this place, so to be on the podium after that fierce fight with David and then the long lap penalty as well, satisfied at the end of it all.
Yeah, I'm satisfied, especially because we don't arrive from a really good period. So, yeah, really nice to be back here. A bit disappointed because I don't know where I touch the green, because I don't felt that I touch the green in the exit of the corner. So maybe some parts that I don't see it. And yeah, anyway, really good job, and thanks to the team because they work really hard. I hope to be stronger in Hungary.
Great job, well done.
Well, despite the long lap penalty for a track limits infringement, which he's not clear about, we're about to find out right now. This is coming out of turn 8. Thought it was marginal. Of course, that was where Jorge Martin lost a victory in Moto2 back in the day. He said he wasn't aware of it. You can understand why on top of the bike, but of course we have eyes and spies everywhere, Celestino. So and I'm sure when he sees that replay, he will be aware that he touched the green. Nonetheless, on the podium for just the second time on a Boscoscuro in 2025. On the podium for the first time. What a weekend! Pole position and a first Moto2 rostrum for Danny Holgado. He's with Jack.
Danny, huge congratulations. What a brilliant ride to take your first Moto2 podium. Just how good does it feel to be stood here on the box?
Yes, super happy with my first podium in Moto2 RACE. I was working very hard during the summer for the second part of the season. I'm super happy with the job. After a good job during the weekend, all the season in top 10, very good with the performance. Thanks to the team for the amazing job, for the amazing bike, because the bike was really fast. And I need to enjoy the moment, enjoy the podium, and see you the next week.
Congratulations.
Brilliant weekend. Top ride, that by Holgado, the 20-year-old Spaniard. He kept Diogo Moreira honest for the majority of that Grand Prix. But Moreira was just too strong in the crucial final laps. And I think Holgado had probably told himself, don't do anything silly. You've got a maiden Moto2 podium within your grasp here. Let's just make sure we bring the bike home, take the 20 points, and take the plaudits of the Aspar team and all those close connections. Diogo Moreira, though, back on top, on the top step of the podium, and back in the World Championship game in Moto2 in 2025. Your Austrian Grand Prix winner is for Jack.
Diogo, that was a statement win to kick off the second half of the season, with Manu scoring no points and you scoring 25. It's game on in the World Championship. Just how important a victory does that feel?
Yeah, only say thanks to my team. It was a great weekend, so I'm proud of this. Yesterday morning we make a good pace, and I think was this the key for the race. And yeah, only say thanks, and this victory will be for Paolo Alsina. He was training with me always, so this will be for him. Congratulations. Thank you.
Yeah, a wonderful and lovely tribute there from Diogo Moreira. Spectacular sideways action from the Brazilian. Are we going to see him in the MotoGP World Championship in 2026. Certainly hoping to be back in Brazil. Confirmation of the 2026 calendar came out in the summer break, and we are due to be back in that part of South America on March the 22nd next year. I'll tell you what, if Diego Moreira was on the grid, there'll be a few more tickets getting sold for our visit to Guyana at the end of March next year. Make that win number 2 then of the season for Moreira, and more importantly, make that a win which has catapulted him right back into World Championship contention. You have to feel for poor Manu Gonzalez, luckless in round 13. It was a very unlucky round 13 ultimately for the World Championship leader. He had to retire with a technical issue. The exit from that Grand Prix was all of his own doing as far as David Alonso was concerned. He was fighting a really good fight when this happened at turn 9 late on this.
Yeah, I guess ultimately when David Alonso reflects on this Grand Prix, the areas where it was lost, arguably not this crash, it was the poor start where he dropped down to 7th or 8th place, and of course the time it took for him to get past Chesney Vietti, that forced him to have to take those risks in the latter stages to close up to the top 2. That was where it all quite literally slid out of the contention for Alonso. Any hope of a maiden victory in their second visit to the podium disappearing, but his day will unquestionably come.
Yeah, the chief benefactor of that late mistake from Alonso was Vietti, who eventually took the checkered flag just under half a second ahead of Alberto Arenas. Those two had some pretty close calls late on. Tony Arbolino, that's an excellent ride, by far head and shoulders his best dry race performance on a Boscoscura chassis. 5th place for Arbolino. He was only 6/10 of a second back of Arenas at the checkered flag. He covered off Ivan Ortola, who had a superb ride himself, the Spaniard Ortola taking the checkered flag in 6th place. There's some good rides actually in that race. Ortola's 6th, fellow rookie Vaya in 8th place. Ethan Guevara, who really did bash himself up in a heavy crash on Friday. He's rode through the pain barrier to 9th, and Canet also battered, bruised but not beaten. Top 10 for Canet, which does the power of good to his World Championship aspirations.
You will only find out when the final verdict is delivered in Valencia just how important those 6 points might prove to be for Aaron Canet. Ultimately, if you'd offered him a points gain on Gonzalez this weekend, he would have taken it. Perhaps not in those circumstances. So Chelsea Vietti makes his customary visit to the Red Bull Ring podium, albeit not the step he usually stands on here. 3rd place for him. Second podium of the season, but 13th in Moto2 for him. The very first for Danny Holgado, who's very much in control of the Rookie of the Year battle this year. He's on 37 points now ahead of his teammate David Alonso. But Diogo Moreira, who has been able to banish whatever demons there were after the aberration in Germany when he unsafely rejoined the racetrack and was collected by David Alonso. Injury, both physical and mental pain, well, truly out of his mind now. Second run for Italtrans this season, who know what it takes to win a Moto2 World Championship. They were the champions in 2020 with Enea Bastianini. They'll be about to do the same 5 years on. Michael Wagner, the member of the Styrian Parliament, presents 3rd place to Celestino Vietti. Boscoscuro will be pleased to be podium once again. Benjamin Carl, Austrian snowboarder, Olympic and world champion, presents a first Moto2 trophy for Danny Holgado. Boy, has he earned that one. What a fine rookie season he's having. But victory today goes to the boy from Brazil, who will be heading home at the start of next season, quite possibly as a MotoGP rider, and who knows, maybe the Moto2 World Champion too. Moreira right back in the championship conversation after victory in Austria.
Diogo Moreira, the 21-year-old from Sao Paulo in Brazil, takes his second Moto2 victory of the season, just the third of his Grand Prix career, and he's back in business in terms of the Moto2 World Championship. Celestino Vietti, once again, this is very familiar territory, isn't it, for the Italian, as he celebrates a podium in Moto2 here at the Red Bull Ring. And he's going to enjoy the sweet taste of that Prosecco after a real miserable recent run. There's Robbie Brivio, brother of Trackhouse Racing boss in MotoGP, Davide Brivio, part now of the Italtrans Racing project, enjoying the post-race celebrations as well. We get to do it all over again in just 7 days' time. Our first visit to Hungary, the Balaton Park circuit is our next destination. First time we've been racing in that part of Europe since 1992. Going there, hungry for more success, will be Diogo Moreira.
Moreira's second victory of the season then, as he closes right back in to the World Championship battle. Daniel Garda will be absolutely thrilled with second place, and started from pole. Celestino Vietti taking a one-lap penalty on his way to third. Alberto Arenas fourth, ahead of Tony Arbolino, his best dry result of the season. Ortola sixth for Baltas Bayer, Guevara, and 10th place. How useful will that ultimately prove to be for Aaron Canet? He does gain points today on Manu Gonzalez, who failed to score with a hole in the radiator. Philip Salat, Marcos Ramirez, Ayumi Sasaki, Danny Munoz, and Darren Binder scoring World Championship points. Score in Germany. He's on the other points finish since his injury back at Le Mans. Championship certainly closes up today. Manu Gonzalez's lead cuts to 19 points over Aaron Canet, with Diogo Moreira coming from 60 to 35 back. Barry Baltas is also much closer now. He started the day some 54 points off the lead. That's now down to 45. With Jake Dixon's struggles today, it looks to be at most a four-way fight for the title. Constructors Championship. Kalex was victorious today, courtesy of Diogo Moreira. The Boscascoro on the podium with Celestino Vietti. The gap is now 131 points. Teams Championship, not Fantic Racing's finest day this season, but they do extend their lead over Intact GP to 31 points, of course, after both of their riders retired. So Diogo Moreira then, triumphant in Austria, who will be tasting the success in MotoGP with 28 laps to come. Our coverage and our build-up to the Austrian Grand Prix comes next.
MotoGP's record-breaking season continues with the Grand Prix of Austria coming ahead of a first visit to Hungary in over 30 years. Set in the natural adventure playground of the Styrian Mountains, Austria returned to calendar in 2016 after a break of almost 2 decades. Who can take the Red Bull Ring by the horns. It's time to race in MotoGP. So first built back in 1969, then known as the Austrian ring, changed to the A1 ring before we reopened as the Red Bull ring here all the way back in 2011. Stop and go in layout, stop and go in nature, 4.34 kilometres, 11 corners, 8 right, 3 of them left, an 810 metre start finish straight before you start the climb up the hill into turn 1, 65 metres, 213 feet of elevation change around this Red Bull Ring circuit. Are we going to get more fireworks and drama in that turn 10? Most demanding braking points up the hill into the first corner, down the hill into turn 4, which is one of the most brutal braking zones on the entire calendar. So many hard braking zones, though, gives you plenty of overtaking opportunities. This one into the 282B chicane, which Marc Marquez did not pass up on here last year. So back from the summer break, it was back in dramatic fashion for Pecco Bagnaia and Firmin Aldeguer as they had a big wheel spin off the line to start the 14-lap sprint here in Austria. Bagnaia eventually having to retire with all kinds of issues on the factory Ducati. He's going for a 4th consecutive Grand Prix success in the main Grand Prix. A mistake by Alex Marquez exiting the chicane allowed for the Mark to seize the initiative in yesterday's sprint, and at the checker flag it was Mark who prevailed once again. His 12th gold medal in 13 sprints so far this season means Marc Marquez holds a 123-point lead in the World Championship coming in to our 13th round of the season. Never though has the 93 won a Grand Prix here in Spielberg. Got a bit of work to do as Marky starts from 4th place on the grid. Didn't really knock him out of kill, though, did it, in the sprint yesterday as our drone shot picks its way through the lush green surroundings of the Spielberg. It is one of our most scenic, it is one of our most idyllic settings on the Grand Prix calendar. Always one of the favourite stopovers as we return to the Grand Prix of Austria. It is chapter 13 in a story of 2025 which is being dominated by Marc Marquez. He has now taken wins in the last 11 sprints and Grand Prix, and a first win here today in the Grand Prix of Austria. Well, it will be a 6th consecutive double win. Today is a very special day in the history of the MotoGP World Championship. It is our 1000th Premier Class race. And look at this, we have a very special Red Bull Ring Legends Parade. Our very own Simon Crafar on one of John Hopkins' Red Bull Yamaha 500s is part of this special. Now there is Simon on the number 11 Red Bull Yamaha, and as you can see there, Casey Stoner has been present here all weekend. What a talent, what a star Stoner was back in the 2007 MotoGP World Champion, Ducati's first ever World Champion. Of course, 18 long years ago now. It's a shock if Ducati don't claim victories and successes in World Championships. Of course, he did the business as well on a Repsol Honda back in 2011. Without any question, the number 27 was one of the very best. And we started all the way back on the 199. We have celebrated 122 winners in podium finishers. Who will be winner of Grand Prix number 1000 after Harold Daniel took the very first all the way back in 1949. It has been some journey since then, and now we are set to laud the modern-day MotoGP superstars, just as those Austrian fans are too. With Marco Bezzecchi for the very first time in a Grand Prix, starting from pole position after his brilliance in Q2 yesterday. 4th at the checker flag in the sprint, recovering from a pretty average Friday when he was down in 18th place. 28 laps then will be underway in 40 minutes time here in the spectacular Stewie Mountains. Matt Burton, Lewis Suddenly in the commentary box with Jack Appleyard down in pit lane. Some stars of the past, we were marvelling at there in our commentary box position just above the main grandstand, Lewis, but now it's all about the stars of the present and the future as Marc Marquez looks for a first ever Grand Prix success here in Austria.
Boy, was Marco Bezzecchi a star yesterday, of course. Marco Bezzecchi, winner of GP 1000 a couple of years ago at Le Mans. Can he win the 1000 in the very top class here today? Well, it would be against the run of play given Aprilia's historical record over here. You wouldn't say it's necessarily Aprilia's strongest chap on the calendar, and it looked it on Friday when, of course, Bezzecchi and his team at Jorge Martin were both outside the top 10. Bezzecchi, though, not only getting out of Q1, but going all the way to P1 by the time qualifying was concluded on Saturday morning. But he has the top 3 in the World Championship, the Ducati trio of Marc Marquez, Alex Marquez and Pecco Bagnaia right on his shoulder.
Of course, Marco Bezzecchi, one of the last riders to actually finish ahead of Marc Marquez in any sprint or Grand Prix shape. Here is the Legends Parade. You can see there Luca Canalora in the distinctive red and white Yamaha leathers. 250cc world champion back in the day. Was not that long ago. He was a rider coach and working closely with Valentino Rossi. Danny Pedrosa is here as well. I believe Danny's been on a few laps on Hiroshi Oyama's 250cc two-stroke. Great to hear some good old-fashioned two-strokes zinging around the Red Bull ring. A proper throwback. That was all to do with the start of KTM's Grand Prix journey, wasn't it? Now, in the present, well, they have got another superstar on their books. Pedro Acosta is in great form coming into this Grand Prix of Austria. Massive home weekend, of course, for Red Bull and for KTM. Well, he was third over the line in the sprint yesterday. This was a very aggressive early move he made on Marco Bezzecchi, who started from pole on the factory Aprilia. Never really threatened to get his hooks into the Marquez brothers directly ahead of him on circuit, but it is now 3 successive podiums for Acosta, who is being helped by some significant KTM upgrades that have filtered through out of the summer break. We finally have, we've had to wait a long time, a fast, happy and smiling Pedro Acosta.
Yeah, some of the upgrades, in particular to the front of the bike, the aero upgrade, something Pedro Acosta's been calling for quite some time. Going back to the Aragon test, he's been asking for that particular performance upgrade. He now finally has it. And Pedro Acosta hitting form at just the right moment from a KTM point of view with their home Grand Prix here today. Well, Pecco Bagnaia, does he feel like he's away from home right now, having struggled so badly in the sprint yesterday? He was very clear in his mind that the circumstances were beyond his control, but no points once again out of a Tito sprint for Pecco Bagnaia. We saw him shaking his head more than we saw him making overtakes. It all began with this disastrous start.
That was scary. But the more you look at that, the scarier it gets, particularly not just for Bagnaia, but 4 riders behind him who really had to check up cat-like reflection. The reactions by actually Sale Party back in for the likes of Morbidelli, Bastianini, Mir and Marini. That was really scary stuff off the line. And Bagnaia had rear tyre problems throughout the sprint. He said he felt there was an issue on the warm-up lap. This was where he ran off in the braking zone up the hill into the first corner. It was a shocking Saturday for Bagnaia. Let's look at this. No stability whatsoever on the rear. It was like he had a square tyre in the back of that factory Ducati. A big shake of the head, and ultimately he called it a day. He said no sense in continuing to take big risks when that Ducati underneath him was practically unrideable. And that's what it means. That was the disconsolate figure of Bagnaia, barely able to contain his disappointment inside the factory Ducati garage. Are there going to be any crumbs of comfort today for the 28-year-old Italian? He's not finished lower than second in the last 4 Grand Prix here at the Red Bull, and he's won the last 3. He does start from the front row in 3rd place. It's a big ask for him to get on par and beat the Marquez brothers once again over the full 28-lap distance.
What will help Pecco Bagnaia is that one of the Marquez brothers in question does have a long penalty to serve. We just saw him, Alex Marquez, as we look at some seriously illustrious MotoGP company legends of the past, who I'm sure could pretty much compete at the present. Casey Stoner and Danny Pedrosa here on your screens, 2 of the very best to ever put their leg over a Grand Prix motorcycle.
career-long rivals, weren't they, those two, 125s, 250s, and eventually as teammates in Repsol Honda in MotoGP. Imagine it, sort of a comparable line to that on the Monday. I guess Bagnaia, Marquez, Pedrosa and Casey Stoner was just a mouth-watering line back in the day. Unfortunately, a little bit of sad news to bring you, housekeeping news. We are missing Maverick Vinales once again from this Austrian Grand Prix. Pain in his left shoulder. This is all, of course, a legacy of his Q2 crash in the wet conditions in the Sachsenring a few weeks ago. Missed the sprint and the race action in Germany. Missed the race action also in the Grand Prix of Czechia. Bravely tried to return to action just 5 weeks into what is going to be a 16-week painstaking rehab for the Spaniard. Unfortunately, Vinales withdrawing yesterday. Paul Espargaro might be seconded into action once again next time out at Balloting.
Here's a rider who certainly knows how to get through some injury hell. Boy, is the first lap